Hello Floss Tube, welcome back to Snickerdoodle Stitch, or if it's your first time here, welcome. My name is Kathleen and this is a channel about cross stitch. So I've got a ton to show you this time. I didn't film last Friday. I had a trip to Chicago for work. I was there all week, and by the time I got home Friday, I was just like done. So anyway, sorry for the delay. It might work out a little better anyway because I have surgery next Wednesday the 8th. And so I wouldn't be able to post a video that next Saturday. It would only be a few days after surgery. The good news is my next video will then be 10 days after my surgery, and hopefully I will have a ton of stitching done. I've actually got a lot to show this time since it's been a little longer in between videos. I've got a bunch of stitching, I have a little bit of haul, and I have a quilt top that I finished. So I was going to share that. I'll put bookmarks in so that you can skip parts that if you don't want to see the haul or you don't want to see the quilting or whatever. But I'm going to start with the stitching. And I have a couple FFOs. The Cricut Collection Bed and Bath 1. I've been working on this up here. And it is completely finished, framed, and made into a clock. So here's my finished clock for my bathroom. This is just a stock frame. It's 10 by 20. They make this size. It holds two 5x7 pictures, so it's matted, which is nice because it means the frame depth is deeper, so it's easier to get the foam core in. So to do it as a clock, I mounted it on the foam core, and then I used a gadget, which I will show later, called a Japanese screw punch, and I was able to use that to punch the hole in the middle. It went through the foam core and the fabric so that I could insert the clock movement. And then I'll hold it up closer, but these pieces, I wasn't originally, well no, originally I was gonna stitch some bubbles. But there were two reasons I didn't. One, I hated stitching with the metallic-y braid was a pain in the neck, and I thought sitting out here by themselves, it was just gonna look a lumpy mess. So I didn't want to use the metallic thread. And then before I framed it, I wasn't entirely sure where I was going to end up putting the clock movement, the center of it. So it was gonna make it harder to figure out where to do the stitching. So these are actually some iridescent cardstock that's punched out, and then there's glass bubbles on top. They're actually the bubbles that also set down in the beer caps that made the little pie tin looking needle minders that I used for all of the retreats last year to give out. But this is completely finished. I'm very happy with it. I'll hold it up closer so you can see it. Here, I'll show you the bubbles, the iridescent parts. Not really, you can see it a tiny bit in this one over here. But they're sparkly, so they're bubbly looking. And then there's the stitching all done. And this frame is brushed silver, so that works well for my bathroom, which has the like brushed nickel fixtures in it and chrome. So really happy with this, and now I get to hang it up. And right now where I'm gonna hang this, I have Lori Holt Flower Market stitch, so I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with that. I may get rid of another framed piece of artwork that I have in there so that I've got more room for stitchy stuff. But that is FFO'd. The clock movement, I bought a 2-pack on Amazon. They were really cheap. They were like $9 for 2 of them. And they came with an assortment of hands. I was originally going to use a simpler hand, but these were the shortest hands, and it was kind of as long as was going to work in here. So that was how I settled on the hands. And I've got an extra movement in hands. I'm going to try and use them to do an overhaul on the bath time needlework that I rescued from my dad. This other one I showed when it was a pillow. It's the Croquette A Go-Go little hen, which I did for Easter, and this was the bunny that went with it. The bunny I already showed as an FFO, but the hen, I used this ruched ribbon, so it came already like this. I had it in my paper crafting stash for something. And then I've sewn it on with little pink seed beads around the edge. So that was really easy, just to sew this ribbon that's already done this way on there. So now these are done and ready to put away and have for next spring. And the exciting part was, I was originally going to use a different bead, but they were too big, and I was like, all right, I need to dig in my jewelry making stuff, because, you know, makers, we do like all the things. I did jewelry for many, many years, and now I hardly wear jewelry because I work from home all the time and don't really go too many places. But I started digging in my beads, and I was like, I know I've got Delicas here somewhere. And when I dug, I found an entire stash of Mill Hill beads that were in there. These were not from Cross Stitch. These were, I know what I bought them. They were selling out of them at AC Moore. AC Moore actually used to carry these. For those who don't know what AC Moore is, it's a chain that it was absorbed by Michaels, but it was similar to Michaels, at least in the beginning. They kind of went different directions, and AC Moore didn't survive. But they carried a lot of Cross Stitch stuff, including Mill Hill beads at one time. And when they clearanced them and were selling out, I bought a bunch of them in colors that I was using for some jewelry making. So now I'm moving it from my jewelry making supplies to my Cross Stitch supplies to have those there. But always fun to come across some old treasure. All right, this next one I thought I would get done. It is Lavender and Lace, Isabella's Garden. And that's the picture, which I don't even really need to show now because I have it finished except for the beads. And I didn't get the beads done because it needed a good pressing. Because once I do the beads, I won't want to iron it. So she is completely finished. I think last time I showed her, she was missing her head and arm maybe, or part of her arm. So she is completely stitched, and she is on Fabric by Stephanie Abyss, maybe? Yes, Abyss from Fabrics by Stephanie. So really happy with the way she came out. I don't know what I was thinking with this tiny little piece of fabric. But I did find a perfect frame for her. And I found it at Marshall's. It did have artwork in it. And yes, I am joking. This is the frame that I'm going to use, but not in this fake orange gold color. But it's the width that I wanted. And I wanted one that was a little more decorative. And so my plan is to paint this white. I did, I'm running out of room here already. I did try out a bunch of different frames around her, just the molding, to see what color I liked. My original thought was a dark cherry kind of color because I was going to hang it next to my Mirabilia in my bedroom. But I really didn't like the darker frames because the fabric is so dark, and white really makes her pop more. So my plan is to spray paint this clearance frame. It had some ugly like pot of fruit or something in it. That's this, it kind of had an orange color in it. But my plan is to spray paint this white and frame it, and she will fit. The fabric is just big enough. So I'm hoping to get that framed before I have surgery. Because I don't think I don't know. I don't know what to expect with this surgery. It's laparoscopy, but if it goes well, it's laparoscopy. And I've had major surgery before. I've never had laparoscopy. So they tell me 2 weeks. I'm not really sure how many days I'm going to feel just like, you know, sleeping. So I'm hoping to get her framed before then, but I've got a ton of like house cleaning and cooking and all that kind of fun stuff to do before surgery too. This next one I worked on is Lila's Studio, and it's Season Spring. This is the pattern. And last time I had the cart and some of the leaf sprigs out here to the side, and I had the 3 pink tulips. And I got a lot done on this one as well. So I got the word spring, all of the blue flowers, the yellow, and I've started in on the little birds. So all I have left to do is finish this bird. Well, and this one needs his nose and a couple highlights on him. And then there are some Quaker motifs that go up in the corner, and then there's a border down here at the bottom. I'm gonna do the birds. Well, I'm gonna do all of it. I forgot. I keep changing my mind on this one. This one is on a piece of fabric that I got at a resale shop. It's Alma Gray Mist, and it is 20, no, it's 32 count. No, it's 28 count. So it should finish at 5x7, and I was all excited because I got this frame on clearance at Michael or Hobby Lobby and thought it would work. But this is actually finishing a skosh above 5x7. And the trick with 5x7 frames is that the opening is not actually 5x7. So it doesn't fit in there. And I need to dig through my frame stash because I think I got an 8x10 frame like this on clearance because it was missing the easel. It had been broken off the back. And I'm pretty sure it was 8x7, not 5x7. If it's 5x7, I have 2 5x7 frames that I'm not sure what I'm going to use them on. But so that was spring. This next one that I worked on is Summer Notes from Shepherd's Bush. I picked this up when it was a kit when I was at Shepherd's Bush last month or earlier this month. I'm losing track of time. It's been in the last like 4 or 5 weeks. And I had the house and the pond done, but I've got lots of there's a lot of backstitch in this. So, but it's not backstitch like outlining, so it doesn't bother me. It's more backstitching like highlighting or actually backstitching, you know, these pea pod vines over here or words. There's a lot of backstitched words on here. And this was kitted up with the called for fabric and flosses, and it's Weeks Dye Works. But I worked some on that. This next one, I took this with me on the trip to Chicago. Sorry, it's not coming out. It's a Mill Hill kit. It's the last, I've done the other 2 from the Mouse trilogy. This one is Mac Cheese. So this is the last one that I haven't done. And I got a good bit done on him. So it was a work trip and it was a full week. We had trainings all day, and then group dinners, and I really only had a few bits of time in the evening, like just to unwind for half an hour before going to sleep, or on the plane out and back. But what I did on it is everything that's blue, so all of this blue over here, and then the mouse himself. I didn't have any gray or pink done. I moved over that direction because there's a lot of white in there, and some of it is up against red. And I want to get the white done before the red so that I don't pull white thread through next to the red and end up with pink. I only noticed that with white and red where I have a definite preference for the order of doing the stitching. But this one is just a travel piece, so I'm not sure when you'll see that one again. Although sometimes I take them down to my dad's. My dad has a little dog, and she's a year old, and she kind of gets into things, and she wants up in my lap and is in the way when I'm trying to stitch and stuff. I do need to show some retro stash and some ornaments that I made for my mom years ago. And I discovered on the tree this year that some dog, my dad said it wasn't her, it had to have been her or my brother's dog. There isn't anything else that could have done it. Had chewed up some of the ornaments, so I was not happy with them. This next stitching is Jardin Privé, ABC de la Brodeuse, and it's a band sampler. And it's one long piece. Here they have it just bigger, the top part and the bottom. And I was right here, and I got all the way down to here. So I got a good bit of stitching done. I'm doing this one in the called for, except there are two pinks, 152 and 223, and those in combination with the blues that are the 926, 924, those ones. It looked very 1980s to me. Those were that was the Williamsburg blue and dusty rose that was in everything cross-stitched in the 80s. And so I have replaced the pink with some reds. But this is the part that I stitched just this week or last week. So since you saw this last, and the frame is distorting the banding a little bit. It happens when you've got something with this much stitching in it, the stitching starts to get thicker in some spots than others, and so when you pull it really tight, it can kind of stretch it a little bit, but you stitch and it's fine. So this blue line up here was done, and the blue line over here. So everything that I'm showing right now, pretty much I stitched. My favorite part is this little horn book with that sheep, and they've got the green at the bottom, almost like a little hill. It's such a tiny little motif, but it's so stinking cute. I just love that. And I'm not really a hornbook person, but that little, that's just too cute. So having a lot of fun on this one. I would like to finish this one this year. So I didn't stitch it when I was doing all of the winter and Christmas, but I think now through summer, until I start like fall Halloween stitching, this one's going to get some love every time, I think. Oops. Gotta keep my piles straight. This next one, not too exciting. It's just, the piece is exciting, but what I got done isn't exciting. It's Gifts from My Garden from Hello from Liz Matthews. And this is the piece. And last year I had gotten the bouquet done. And now when I need some mindless stitching, I took this one down to Dad's last time I went down. I have been stitching this green background, which is a ton of stitching. She finishes about 5 by 7, so it's 5 by 7 that's solid stitched. And I had a little bit of green done last time you saw it. Oops, let me hold this behind there so the light doesn't show through. I had a little bit of this upper corner done, but I did a big chunk over here, and I started the scalloped edge. So I'm not quite half done. Actually, I'm less than half done because the top part had the most stitching. This bottom section is going to be a beast. But this is good mindless stitching for retreats, or like I said, for my dad's house. I am stitching this on 32 count Mystic Fabrics. And it's a fabric called Everything Else, and I love this Everything Else. It has a really subtle modeling to it, and it's very nice to stitch on, this Mystic Fabrics. They do a nice job with maintaining the integrity of the linen, so I may have to see if I can get my hands on some more. I do have a big piece of this, and I got it in 32 and 36 count. Strawberry Sampler, one of my LNSs, had it last year at their Super Bowl sale. And it was just such a light neutral. It's a little bit on the pink side. But really subtle modeling, just nice fabric. All right. where are we at on time? My last stitching, this is a start. And speaking of starts, I've got like 15 projects kitted up for when I have my surgery. I don't know how much stitching I think I'm gonna do. Some of them are smaller, so I probably will finish some of them, like, you know, start it and finish it all in one day, especially if, you know, I'm really not feeling that badly and I'm awake all day. I will stitch the entire day. So, you know, 2 weeks is really gonna be closer to 2.5 because of running into the holiday when I go back. I should be able to get a lot of stitching done. But this next one is a Country Day from October House Fiber Arts. And I picked this up on a freebie swap table at one of the retreats. And I didn't realize when I'm stitching it, there are 2 charts inside. One is for a country day, and the other one, instead of a country day, they have charted a summer day. So I am stitching it with the words a summer day. And it calls for overdyes from Weeks Dye Works and one from General Arts. I am using most of the called for, but for ones that I didn't have, I just pulled from Stash. I have some of these limited edition, meaning there's no name on it, that I got at Needlework Extravaganza just a few months ago. So I just pulled flosses that look like the colors in the picture. Or the called for, if I already had the called for. Like this lemon pie is the called for. I think these greens are the called for. So some of them are the called for. The 2 browns are substitutes. But I just went with what would be similar to what they were showing in the photo. And I got a good start on it. This is on Grace Notes Blueberry Milkshake. And I need to see if I can get some more of it too, because it's a really subtle light blue. It works great to look like a summer day. I did goof on this one. I had the fabric cut a while back. I've had this kitted up in the fabric cut. But I should have stitched it the other way. The design goes, it's landscape, it's not portrait, and I put it on my fabric portrait. But I also realized that on 32 count, it's going to finish at 7 1/4 by 5 5/8. So it's not going to work in a 5 by 7 frame. And I don't want this as a pillow. 5 by 7 is an awkward size to do to have as a pillow. It doesn't really fit in like a dough bowl, but it's too small to put like on a sofa or bed. It's just going to be kind of silly. So I want to frame it. So I think what I'm going to end up doing is not doing the wavy line border, and just, it will fit in a 5 by 7 frame without the wavy line border. And I do have plenty of fabric, even though I did it sideways. So that's my plan for this one. It's stitching up pretty quickly. This is 1/8 stitching. So I've got some green leaves, I've got the words, a couple birds, and there's some more greenery here and a couple flowers. And that's really all there is to it. But I'm liking the overdyes on this one. It really gives a lot of interest to the twigs and the grass and greens and stuff. So sometimes I'm a diehard DMC stitcher, but this one, the overdyes are perfect for it. So, where are we at on time? I mentioned the Japanese screw punch. This is a Japanese screw punch. It's typically used for bookmaking. So the way you use it, and I'm not going to push down because this is metal and I don't want to ruin the tip on it, but you put it wherever you want the hole. And when you push down, I need something I can screw in. Let me do this. I'll do it in the foam core. When you push down, the bottom actually spins and punches a hole. And it will go all the way through foam core and fabric. And it's nice. You use it when you can't use a regular hole punch because your hole punch won't get in far enough. Like say I needed to punch something in the middle here, like I did the clock. Then this, I can put it exactly where I need it. You hold it like this and you push down and this thing spins around and it actually goes in and punches a hole. So that is a Japanese screw punch. They used to be rather pricey. I have this from Bookmaking. But I do see on Amazon now that there are places that sell them very reasonably. So if you do a lot of your own full finishes, it might be a tool worth looking into. The other two gadgets, I picked up these for table gifts or giveaways. They're bobbin, they're designed to hold thread on a bobbin. So you would put this around your bobbin and it would keep the thread from unwinding and becoming a tangled mess. But they work fantastic. Say I had a bunch of fabric here, they will fit on a Q-snap or a hoop and just hold your fabric out of the way. And I'm only showing this because I hadn't thought of using them for that purpose until Stitch North last year, and one of my table mates had these in little gift bags for everybody, and then I gave them away at Needlework Extravaganza, and a lot of my table mates had not seen them used for that either. They're very cheap on Amazon. You can buy a bag of 100 for $11. So bobbin savers, thread bobbin, search something like that and they will come up. This other gadget I saw on Country Stitchers, so Liz was showing them and I thought it was just a really cool idea. This is designed to clip on a rail in a store, like the clothes rack, and then have a sign on top, you know, like sale, clearance, whatever, 2 for $1. But this actually will clip on a Q-snap, and this whole thing bends around. So it'll clip on a Q-snap, it will clip on a scroll bar. I don't know that I would use them on a Q-snap because I think it would put the chart where isn't convenient for me. But on a scroll frame, I might. I don't think it would work. I don't have any regular embroidery hoops here. I think this is too big to fit on a regular embroidery hoop. You might have to shove some fabric or something in there, but it's nice because it bends all different directions, and I just popped it right out. It bends all different directions so that you can position it and it's not in your way. You know, you can angle it a little bit if you want the light to catch differently. I just thought it was a clever idea. And she said she got hers at an office supply store, so it must have been like Staples, Office Max, one of those. I don't know which ones are still around other than Staples. I got them on Amazon. They were like $7 for 25 of them. They are a hard plastic. I'm not sure how durable they are or how long they would hold up. And that's my only caveat with these. I did go through the bag of 25 and I didn't have any that appeared to be broken, just kind of flipping through them. And they were just shipped in an envelope. So they must be a little bit sturdy, but long-term use, I'm not sure how they would do, but worth checking out. My plan is to give these away as some table gifts too, and people can try them out and decide if they like them or not. All right, sorry. Now I'm into some haul. I got, and I apologize, I got to crinkle envelopes to open these because I forgot to do it beforehand. I got some Fiber on a Whim Moonstone from Garon, and I'm going to get back as far as I can so that the color is as true as possible. But I like Fiber on a Whim fabric. They're another dyer that I think keeps the integrity of the cloth. It doesn't get pilly or overly soft or anything. Doesn't seem to shrink considerably. But for anybody who has used Cream and Sugar, I thought I would just show this, and I'm not sure the light's gonna work, but it is similar to Cream and Sugar, but a skosh darker. So this is the Cream and Sugar, and this is Moonstone. It's a little more gray, and it's a little bit darker than Cream and Sugar. So Cream and Sugar is one of my go-tos. In fact, I need to check the mail because I think a piece of it should have come today. I was kitting up the RETM from Toledo to Toledo. That's one of the ones I want to do while I'm out. I've got all the floss for it. I really thought I was going to use Moonstone. I loved all of the floss on this, except that there's one floss that is I think it's cottage blue. And it is a blue and tan, and the tan is light enough that I don't think it's going to show up well enough on here. So I'm going to go with the lighter cream and sugar, but that from Toledo to Toledo finishes up at 16 by 20 on 28 count, which is what they had it done on. And 16 by 20, of course, standard size frame, so I get all excited about that. But it means a regular quarter yard is going to be a tight fit, because that would put the 16, you know, the quarter yard would be like 18 by 27. So the 16-inch width would be, I would only have an inch on each side. It would just be 18 inches to cover the 16. So I had to order a half yard so that I can cut a bigger piece for that, because I want more than 1 inch on the side. Well, I want to be able to put it in a scroll frame, and I don't want to work that close to the edges. And then it's a pain when you're framing if you only have an inch. So this next one, I went to a quote convention a few weeks ago. I mentioned it maybe that I had gone to that, and some friends and I had an Airbnb, and we stayed up there for the weekend, and I bought some cross stitch stash when I was there, so I thought I would show that. One of the vendors actually had Seraphim fabric, and I wasn't supposed to be buying fabric, but this was 32 count stone washed, and I thought a small lavender and lace or like a Nora Corbett would be really nice on this. It's the color's coming through pretty true. It's not quite as purpley looking. It's a little more gray. Well, it kind of has a purple tint to it. It's a blue and gray, and it's called Stone Washed. I haven't worked on Seraphim too much. The shops that are local to me don't have a lot of Seraphim. And then there was a vendor there who was selling out of some of her floss and things. And my friend Lana and I were quite excited because she has some Aurifil sets there. This is a set that is to go with, actually this pattern is free to download on the Aurifil site. And it's Susan Aki. This is her name up here. It looks like Ake, but it's Aki. And I've been curious to try the Aurifil floss. So they come on spools, which I may or may not like. We'll see. But she had these marked down to sell them, just to get, she didn't want to carry them anymore. So I picked those up at the quilt show. And then she also had some Valdani floss. And this one's just called Ocean Waves, but it's my blues and greens, which my favorites. Not sure what I will do with this yet, but it's too bad I didn't have this before I started Winter Quakers. I could have used this for that instead of the called for. And then I picked up, I've been wanting to get a pair of decent embroidery scissors for both of my nieces. So they both do some crafty things. One of them does embroidery, so she draws her own pictures and does the embroidery, and she's quite creative. And then the other one has done a little bit of everything, bookmaking. She just likes trying all the things. But I got these little Bowen scissors that look like cats. So, you know, not expensive scissors, but a decent quality scissor for them so that they have them for embroidery. So got to put those away with the Christmas gift shopping. And then I don't think these are going to show up on camera very well. There were a couple vendors that were selling wool applique, which gets into embroidery, not cross stitch as much. And this one is truly just pieces of wool, and then there's a buttonhole stitch around them. But these little ornaments, I'm not sure if you can see. So you've got the colored felt, and then you've got a slightly larger piece of like just natural or cream felt. And then it's buttonhole stitched down, and there's some little seed beads on it to make them look like sugar cookies. But I thought that was too cute. And that would be, if I got them cut out, this would be a great plain project because it would just be one color of floss and no counting. I wouldn't have to juggle a chart. I got lucky on this flight because I was in upgraded seats. I was even in first class flying out, so I had a little more space than normal. But sometimes if you've got that just that little tiny tray table thing, it's a bit much to juggle everything. So I thought that would be good for plane rides. And then this one is from Bare Roots. Oh, sorry, that last one is from Kath's Pennies Designs, and it's wool applique, and it's called Sugar Cookies. Wool ornaments / bowl fillers. So that's what that one is. These next two are from a company called Bare Roots, and this one is wrist pin cushions, and they had the bottom one stitched up. Yeah, this isn't going to show it. Let me see if I cover my face. The camera won't, it'll focus in then. This bottom one they had stitched up, and they were just so cute. And these are just embroidery, so it's a lot of back stitch. And then this one is PS Don't Forget, and this is a bad picture photo on here. So this one is probably not going to show up great either, but it's these little tiny pieces, and then they were stitched together in like a maybe 16 by 16 finished size hanging in the back. This, the vendor actually had stitched up like that. So my plan is at some point to do a little bit of embroidery, not just cross stitch. This next thing I could have made myself, but it had a couple clever things that I wanted it for. So it's just a little zipper pouch, but it is actually made with feed sacks, so real vintage feed sacks. She's made these cute little bags, but what I really wanted to remember, most of the modern sewing machines don't use the metal bobbins anymore. They use a plastic one. You can't use these in them. And I have a ton of these metal bobbins and was never sure what to do with them. And I thought it was just so cute using it as a zipper pull like that. So it was just a clever use of a little bobbin. So I picked that up, and I'll use that for I don't know what. And then I picked up, all right, you're going to think this is ugly fabric, but last fall, when I went to Stitch New England, I stopped on the way back at the Pez outlet, and I got this Pez keychain when I was there, and my plan was to use it as a zipper pull, but the only fabric that I have that has like candy on it, it's chocolate candy, or it's candy and cake and ice cream, or I wanted something that was more like retro fruit flavor candy. And my friend Lana was like, oh, look at this. And I'm like, oh, it's like the paper, the dots on the paper, which I never really liked because you could never get all, there was always paper stuck to the back of the dot. These things were kind of gross. And then I dug some more, and there was like Mike and Ike's. So my plan is to make a project bag out of these retro candies that I can hang my Pez keychain on. All right, we're almost done, I promise. This last thing, I bought a ton of this. This was on sale at one of my local quilt shops, Old Country Store. But it is fabric that I'm going to hold up close so you can see the pattern. It looks like knit on there. The snowflakes are just these little random knitted stitches. And I want to make project bags for my table mates at Sweater Weather, which isn't until October. So I bought a ton of this fabric. I had seen other fabric with sweaters, actual sweaters on it, but it was ugly. But this I like, and it's nice because it's just wintry. It's got some sweater hearts. So it's really just more winter, not necessarily Christmas, even though it's red. So I got a ton of that. So at some point, I've got to get those project bags done. All right, just a couple things left. My Cross Stitch magazine from Just Cross Stitch came. And I've got two things marked. One, I know what it is. So I just realized when I looked in here, the Kreinik now has a factory outlet store. How cool would it be to go there? It is in Parkersburg, West Virginia, which unfortunately is the middle of nowhere. It literally is like the middle of Virginia, or West Virginia. I think when I looked, it's about 90 minutes south of Columbus, or 2 hours south. It was within a decent driving distance of Columbus. I'm not usually that far west. I do travel to Pittsburgh to visit family, and my dad has a place in West Virginia, but when I looked, those were all going to be a few hours away. So I don't know when or if I will ever make it there, but it would be so cool to go to the Kreinik factory outlet. And then the other thing, there wasn't anything in here that I want to stitch. If you want to see the patterns that are in here, I recommend going to Seazilk Stitch. I'll link her in the description below, but she does magazine walkthroughs, and she'll have like an episode that's just a walkthrough of this magazine kind of thing. And she shows all the patterns. But the other thing I marked, it was on the back. It's actually an advertisement for some Mill Hill kits. And I love these little owls at the bottom. They're really cute. I like this one down in this corner. But, and Laurel Birch. Laurel Birch is still cool. I have Laurel Birch stuff from the early 90s. But, yeah, I haven't seen these kits anywhere yet, so they must be just new out. But I thought they were cool. Oh, retro stitching. Let me show this so that I can return this stuff to my dad. So this is one of my older pieces, and it was a gift for my dad, and it says I stitched it in 91. And I framed it myself with my just out of college budget, so excuse the frame. But this was a pattern from P. Buckley Moss, which is out of print, but I have seen different places. And I think the pattern was called Cameo Geese, and it's like all of the 645, 644, all of this I remember. It's a lot of confetti in different creams. I remember I had to highlight this pattern to keep track of where the heck I was. Not sure I could stitch it today, although it does look like it's on 14 count Aida. But 91, that would have been pretty common. And that's the Cameo Geese up close. But this was a gift for my dad, who loves anything outdoors. He's a hunter and likes doing all the outdoors things. Looks like I cut the mat myself. Yeah, the whole thing I framed myself, so probably not the way I would frame it today. And the frame's gotten a little banged up because my mom would just get this out and hang it for the winter. And that's what my dad did this year. And I said, oh, he said he was getting ready to take it down and put another picture up. And I said, oh, before you pack that away in the basement for the summer, let me take that so I can show it. I'm stuck on something. So that I can show it on my floss tube. So that was my one retro stitching. And then this other one, these are the ornaments. I'll show you what some dog did. My dad claims it wasn't his, but I'm pretty sure it was, because she gets into everything. These were, yeah, see, they're all missing like the hanger. These were snowmen. There's 4 different designs. There's this guy. There's him with the Christmas tree, and you see no hanger. They're on perforated paper, and then I've glued felt on the back and cut it out. All right, that guy's missing part of his face. There's this guy. Again, missing the hanger. Oh, something just fell. And then, which one haven't I shown? There's this guy. Oops. And There's this one. His beard's a little meshed. These are from 1987. I think probably well, maybe Christmas of 88. Well, I bet they are 87. All right, this is that same guy. So 2 are missing altogether. There was 4, 6, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There was 2 of each of 6 different ornaments. So now there's only 8 ornaments. So 4 are missing. No, 2 are missing. There's 5. But you see this guy, his whole beard is missing. The bow, the whole thing is chewed off here, and the beard is completely gone. There's another one that has something strange happening. One of them I just threw away. I need to just throw this one away and get over it. But I was like, Dad, there was a lot of work that went into those, and some dog has chewed them up. It is what it is, right? I'm over it now. I was irritated back at Christmas, but I thought I would show my retro stitching before I give these back to Dad. And then this one was also chewed up a little bit. I did not make this. My mom had an entire set of wool crewel ornaments. She used to be in a homemakers club, and one year for their Christmas gift exchange, they made things to exchange. And she had a set of like 6 of these. They're not all, one's a house, one's an angel, one's a bell. They're all different. They all have different designs on them. But Dad thought I made them. And I said, no, I did not make those. Those were made by someone in Mom's Homemakers Club. So that's my retro stitching. And I think that is everything I have for today. Let me just double check my stash here. I do have, oh, I got this at a thrift shop. I'm not sure that it's not a cigarette box, but it might be one of those things for like a men's dresser to put change and stuff in. But it was only $1.49, and it has a label on the back from the Bombay Company. Anybody remember the Bombay Company? They were in all the malls, and they sold everything in this wood tone. They had globes and furniture, and I don't know what else. I was young. I wasn't shopping at the Bombay Company. But I got this at a thrift shop, and I thought it would be really cool to put a square piece mounted on here for an FFO. And I may do that for one of the Smalls exchanges, for some Smalls exchange sometime. So I picked that up. And then the only other thing I have, I did pull the patterns to do for my giveaway, and my original plan was to go, sorry, this frame is in the way here. My original plan was to go through all of those today, but I'm a little concerned about whether I'm going to be up to doing my next video. I don't know how the surgery is going to go. And so even though my Flossiversary was on the 20th, I'm going to do the pattern giveaway at my next video. So I'll show all the patterns there and give the keywords and everything and do that in that video. And I'm really sorry it's not this week. I just am not sure about the timing, and I don't want to commit to giving things away on a certain date and then find that I can't meet that commitment. It's more important to me to just delay it than it is to promise something and then not be able to deliver. So, oh, I did have one more thing. I'm going to splice a clip in here that shows my finished poinsettia star quilt. So I got the top all done. I'll show the full thing in the clip along with the fabric that I have pulled for the back. Actually, it's this star fabric right here is pulled for the back, but I got this done. And so I am going to end with that right after this. But everybody have a fantastic 2 weeks. And next time I'm on, I should have a crap ton of stitching to show you all. So hopefully a bunch of finishes too. And maybe an FFO on the Isabella's Garden, if I can get that done. Everybody, happy stitching, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.
All right, I showed this quilt, well, I showed a block or two from this quilt when I was working on it, but I did get this finished. This is Poinsettia Stars is the name of the pattern. It's from Planted Seed Designs, and it is all just half square triangles in 2 different sizes. So I'll show you the whole thing and then I'll zoom in a little closer. But that is the entire quilt, and this star batik over here is what I'm going to use for my backing. Yeah, as I get closer, you can see the stars in here. But yeah, the quilt is just half square triangles set in a specific arrangement. So we've got these little half square triangles and then these bigger ones. 16 blocks in total, so it is a ton of half square triangles, but very simple to do, very forgiving pattern. Normally I quilt everything myself, but this one I am going to take to a long armor because I want kind of swirl like snow, and I don't feel like trying to freeform that on my standard size sewing machine here at home. So that's the plan for this one. I'll show it when it's back from the long armor.